Hello, 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 hello. Okay, cool. So this is a quick little just side note for myself, right? So on this on AJ, right? It's kind of just like a little structure breakdown, right? So on this structure breakdown, on this structure, something that I really want to focus on is kind of this here, right? So what I'm using something called weekly, right? So on the weekly time frame, right? I'm actually analyzing this as as a whole, right? So again, when I look at actually, so I'm gonna go monthly. So if I go monthly, right, on the monthly time frame, I'm looking at this candle, these candles, right, like here, right. So when I look at this, right, based off the weekly, I can't see structure, right? I can't see structure as a whole, right? I can't really see higher highs. Now this would be that resistance level here. But technically, like when I'm looking at just structure, it's really hard for me to really see structure, right? It's like very blocky. Can I see a higher high? Yes, but it's still blocky, right? It's still very like not smooth. Even when it comes to this higher low point here, again, it's still even within that same area where that higher high is. So again, technically, I have this higher high, higher low, and this would be like a high and then lower high, and then right here we're just kind of stuck, right? But again, I can't really see structure smooth. I can't tell whether that's a true higher high, if that's even a higher low point. Like I can't even tell, right? So again, if I'm looking at monthly's candles, right, I'm gonna have to break that down. First, we want to go on the weekly. If weekly's not smooth, then we go to daily, right? So then on daily, this is where we would be at, and this is where we used to get confused, right? We used to get confused when it's like we can see the overall move, but then we can also see kind of this little minor move ish, and that's what would throw us off a lot, right? So that's how we're gonna. This is how we're gonna go about it, right? Because again, it's still the same rules still apply when it comes to structure, but we want to again, it's gonna be broken down a little bit more, right? So again, when it comes to that monthly candle, we're gonna break structure down on the daily, which is going to be this higher low here, this higher high. Oh shit. This higher low here, and then this higher high there, higher low there, and that's pretty much that right there, right? So we have that higher low, we have that higher high, and then we have that higher low. If we're analyzing structure based off here, right, this is how we would look at it. So now we understand that we're looking at daily, right, as a whole, as just kind of like that whole structure of things, right? Now, when it comes to the current structure, right, when it comes to kind of this push, right? So on daily would be kind of just we're gonna just say as the current structure, right? If I'm looking at the current structure, it's pretty much this here, right? But now, how do I go about it when it comes to daily, weekly, and H4, right? So again, we're gonna have to kind of go back to the weekly just to confirm pretty much these candles here, this candle, right? So we're gonna kind of break that down in a sense. And even if we go on daily, once again, it's not smooth enough, right? It's not like lower high, lower low. I can't tell what that is, right? So when it comes to pretty much the overall move for the current move is going to be based off the H4 now. It's gonna be this lower high, lower low, right? And this is pretty much what the overall move here is. So this is still kind of pretty much the current trend, right? So again, H4's overall move, H4's overall move is going to be weekly's candles, weekly's current candles. Daily's overall move is going to be monthly's overall. Daily's overall move overall main structure is going to be monthly's candles, right? So now, with that being said, that is kind of how we're going to be looking at it. And then as we kind of come to this now, so we understand the overall move, we understand kind of like the current structure that's kind of taking place at this time, right? So it would be pretty much weekly's candles, right? That just that those candles itself, right, would be H4, this, right? And then now when it comes to just kind of H4's current candles, so it would be daily's candles. H4's current structure would be daily's candles, right? So again, like this here, boom, right? Bullish candle, right? If we go on H4 and we look at what that was, it's smooth enough, right? It's like an 8 out of 9, right? It's almost can be better, but it's still good enough to understand that this was a lower high. This is a higher low. This is now a higher high. This is now a higher low. And now this is kind of how we're just flowing. Lower high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then we're at that higher high point, right? And so it's kind of just a mixture of understanding every time frame, because every time frame and every candle has its own structure, right? So now it's kind of just how I want to pair it when it comes to, not pair it, but how I want to kind of understand each structure. So now that I understand it, it's now that how do I go about it, you know? Because again, so daily would be pretty much higher low, higher high. So I'm looking at daily as the overall trend. So yes, I would need to still see a higher high based off these levels here. Based off this here. This is where my higher high needs to be. And then same thing goes for that H4 candles. Like it's still pretty much, again, I would say that here, based off the daily, we're still bullish. Based off that daily, monthly, we're still pretty much bullish. But now when it comes to kind of weekly H4, we would still be pretty much bearish. Based off the facts. See, that's like a bit confusing me a little bit. Because it's not. I'm just using it for what it is. I think I just gotta find the structure that I'm just my main structure and just stick to that. Everything else is I'm just using it for what it is, but I'm not using anything else for main structure. My main structure should be again my main structure points. That's all I'm using that for. So for example, like daily's still on that bullish higher low, higher high type of thing. And even so at this point here, I would just strictly just go off, okay, H4. Sure, that's the thing though. So I'm using H4 as like Right now, what I'm trying to think about is like, okay, do I really need a weekly, right? Because what's kind of throwing me off is how I'm using. 'Cause that's the thing is like I don't know how to go about it. I want to go based off monthly to daily. Monthly to daily makes sense, but then when I try to incorporate weekly to each four, that's when it kind of throws me off because then at that point it's like, what do I stick to as to kind of like my overall momentum? So it's like, do I really need weekly? Or can I just stick to? Because we got something so okay. Because daily, because monthly to daily is telling me the overall structure, right? I understand that. It's giving me that overall structure. Overall structure. Overall structure. Higher low, higher high. This was kind of just throwing me off. It's just using how I'm using them is kind of throwing me off because then I don't know how to go about actually applying them when it comes to just understanding like the trend, the counter trend. So again, I understand like it's higher low, higher high, and that's the overall trend. But then about weekly engulfing. higher high, higher low. And again, it's all about, because what I need weekly. Weekly is giving me that current. It's letting me know about the counter trend. So until the counter trend is over, but it wouldn't be the same thing because again, weekly's candle is that same level of resistance for here for daily for that next higher high. Come on, bro. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at right there. It's just higher low, higher high, right? We understand the main trend. We understand the overall trend. And that's what that's telling me here. The overall trend. The main trend. The main trend. Right? When it comes to this counter trend, now we understand that based off the daily time frame, nothing's valid, right? Because again, it's not breaking key points based off the monthly time frame. But now when it comes to just kind of weekly, because it's still the same thing, boom. That's what we're trying to break. Right? We're trying to break that overall trend, boom, boom, boom. Now I'm breaking, right? But then also when it comes to just candlestick analysis, when it comes to just lower low, lower high, it's also just telling me that based off the daily, when it comes to that, I can also see the current structure as what it is there. So then H4 is technically both. Like I'm using H4 as like the current, the overall trend for the weekly, but then I can also understand daily's candlestick analysis off there. So that's my thing. Do I just stick to, because again, that overall trend is still daily's next higher high. Because that's all that is, right? It's all that weekly candle, not multiple candles. This smells like coffee. Let's see how strong this shit is. Not bad. It's not bad actually. It's not bad at all. Alright, come on. That's what I'm saying. Do I actually need weekly? You know, because again, it's like it's telling me that same weekly level is still, it's the same like daily level, monthly level. Like it's all the same thing. It's that next higher high point. So my thing is that do I really need it? It's all the same thing. I think that's what's throwing me off. It's just the same level. Because look, even when I come here, right, even when I go to, that's that point there. What's that there? And yeah, when I look at that, when I look at this based off the weekly time frame, I understand that. That's what I'm gonna just leave it at right now. So I'm gonna just leave it at that, right? Like I'm just, cause again, monthly is really good, right? Monthly is really good to the point where I understand that daily is the overall trend. Boom, right? And I get that. But when it comes to weekly to the daily, there's nothing there for me, right? It'll be more for like weekly to each four. I can understand that because again, weekly's candle, bearish candle is this here. It's just a like these 4 candles here, which it doesn't really give me much. I understand that H4 is like that lower high, lower low, and then when it comes to even just current candles, I understand that H4 is good enough for me to understand that that's a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, all this stuff here. So I understand that's what's making that there. And again, all this is just going to add up to more candles, more candles, more candles. And then we want to see pretty much in this area. So I think that's what also throwing me off, is that's the same key level. Like this resistance is the same resistance for the daily, the weekly, and then that's pretty much what's throwing me off. Is like that same level is used for 2. But it just makes it stronger, I guess. I don't know. But we can just leave it at that. We can just literally just leave it at that. Because usually it's a lot easier when we can at least have, we can go down, right? We can go from monthly candles, as weekly structure. From there, now we have candles, right? But I mean, as long as I understand that, just we understand that at that time it's like, okay, higher, low. We're using daily to understand candles, and we have all these multiple candles here. And now with daily, we want to understand when these multiple candles actually start to make sense, actually start to make structure, break levels of resistance, stuff like that. Because that's what we're kind of basing off. Now we need H4's current structure with daily, and then H4's overall structure with, I guess, weekly. But again, technically I can also say daily, but then again it becomes kind of confusing because it's also kind of like the same thing. But I'm gonna just leave it at that. Alright, just leave it at that. We understand that right there pretty good. Now we just gotta learn how to just go about things. Start executing things based off just overall structure maintaining itself. And we should be good, right? Should be good. Okay, right.